Here we are, back again. Good afternoon, all our friends of Epinexa. We are back to our Epinexa talks. And today I have the great pleasure to introduce you Ellen Kocher. Ellen Kocher, she's a workplace well-being expert, an economist and a master certified coach. You have over 20 years of international experience supporting individuals and organizations in building sustainable performance and health. Based in Switzerland, but as I said, you're working internationally. You are partners with organization, leaders, coaches to address today's most pressing workplace challenges, including stress, burnout, longevity, menopause awareness, and digital well being. And your approach combines evidence based coaching with practical tools and a strong focus on behavior change. You bring people from awareness to action. So, Ellen, tell me, what is your passion and what makes your heart beats being and being the person that you are?
Thank you so much, Sophia, for that beautiful introduction. When I hear it, I sometimes don't believe that that's really me behind all of that, but it is. So, you said something really important. You said something about behavior change. As both a consultant and a coach, I do not try to work and live to teach people. I work and live to support people in changing something they want to change. My tagline with my business is I help people go from knowing what to do to actually doing it. And I think this positions us very well to understand the difference between maybe a coach and a teacher, a
Mhm.
coach and a medical professional. We support change. And when a person is able to change happily the way they wish to change, that makes my heart beat.
Thank you, Ellen. You are also the co founder of the Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive. So, can
Yeah.
you just tell us what
Oh,
it
yeah.
is?
Yes. Well, throughout my 20 plus years of business, I have two businesses. One of them is named Wealthness. And you can certainly understand wealth plus health. I am an economist and a finance person, as you said. So I believe we become wealthy with an H, wealthy through health, because health is the foundation of everything. And through my much of my work as a consultant and a coach in the workplace, I recognized a demographic change. Of course, you and I have not grown older like the rest of the world, but some people actually grow old.
Yeah.
And some people actually are lucky enough to live beyond 50. I'm teasing, but the point being, I noticed that people over 50, myself included, had different needs for that underlying behavioral change. Priorities shift, identities shift, values shift, life shifts, and our bodies shift. I
Mm.
started with menopause awareness in the workplace. I was the first one, a pioneer in Switzerland over 12 years ago, raising awareness about menopause in the workplace for both women and men. Every
Mhm.
man has a woman in his life somewhere, a mother, a sister, a wife, a spouse, a friend.
Andropause.
And I went further. Exactly. I started awareness sessions around andropause because I thought that menopause is only speaking about women. So now I give a session I call the pause, a modern view on andropause and menopause for the workplace. And that led me to working with a lot of people over 50, which led us to WUZUT. WUZUT is short for Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive. It was actually developed on the Swiss radio when I was being interviewed in French, and they could not say wake up, shake up, thrive. They were really trying hard. It's a very difficult word. And in French, I won't even say it. It's too long.
Too long.
The point of Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive, and I published a book on this subject, is to wake up the conversation on the aging demographic, to shake up mindsets around ageism, around age bias of self and of others, wake it up in the workplace so that everyone can thrive. This has everything to do with economics, health, wealth, longevity, and lifespan.
Thank you, Ellen, for that. And Ellen, in what ways can health and wellness coaching be integrated into existing workplace culture to promote sustainable employee health?
Mm. Thank
Mm.
you for the question, and thank you for that last word, which was sustainable. You know, in English, I'm sure you've heard, we have this thing we call random acts of kindness. It's something you'll hear. It's a very colloquial term, random acts of kindness. What I like to avoid in the workplace are random acts of wellness. A random act of wellness is that annual one off. You do a health day, you give people an app, you do one thing. What it does not do is create the sustainable effect you've just asked about. Sustainable workplace wellness culture is no longer economically disputed. It is necessary for the survival of business. We know that. We don't have to discuss that. That's been proven again and again. But if we want to look at sustainable well-being, there are a few factors that absolutely are critical not to tumble, not to fall, not to make the mistake of it having not be sustainable. I come back to your excellent
Yeah.
work, which is a culture from the top down. So number one, if leadership is not, James Maxwell said, going the way, knowing the way, showing the way,
Mm-hmm.
no go show. If leadership is not doing that, employees don't feel they have permission to do it. So they don't. So we need leadership modeling health behaviors, whether it's screen time, whether it's breaks, whether it's not working on weekends, whatever it might be. Beyond that, we need to know what our people need. If we circle back to the idea of the 50 plus demographic, for example, but it could be cultural difference, it could be gender differences, it could be age, it could be anything. A person of 55 or a person of 25 do not necessarily have the same health needs. So we have to make sure we are addressing the needs of our population, which means bottom up, we need to ask our people what they need and what they want. I have seen so many expensive programs fail because of those two things. We have not asked what people need, and we're not modeling from the top. So those are the two keys. And then in between, we can discuss many ways of deploying those programs and those initiatives. There are multiple ways, and there's not just one way to do it. That's another area. So for me, those are the keys to sustainable workplace health and well-being.
Thank you, Ellen. And you already quite answered, but how does the leadership commitment impact the success of well-being initiative in an organization?
100%, because again, if I can give a specific example. I was
Yes.
working with a very large international company, 17,000 people. We worked regionally, we created wellness programs everywhere. And I remember it happened to be working with the United States at that point, and all of the employees said, "Oh, I can't take a lunch break. My boss doesn't take a lunch break. They work with us at lunch. We are expected to be at our desk and eat at our desk if we eat at all." It was a cultural expectation that we needed to change. So we needed to hear that. That is a typical example where even if leadership says they're giving a break, if they're not taking a break, no one will take it. So I think that's a very, very good example.
Wonderful. And what are the biggest challenges actually organizations face related to chronic stress and burnout among employees?
Yeah.
So there is what you call as well the quiet quitting, because there is a cost behind a chronic disease, a chronic stress, and moreover behind burnouts.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. There's a new term that's been coined you might not yet be familiar with. It's called quiet cracking.
Mm, okay.
It's a relatively recent term. Um, the number one workplace health preoccupation today is mental well-being. So I don't want to just jump right to burnout and all. It is the phases up. Once someone has burned out, they are A, not available, B, very costly to the company. But up until that point, we are losing traction, we are losing motivation, we are losing productivity, we are losing time. So this is the biggest workplace challenge, is creating the psychological safety in the workplace before burnout. I don't
Okay.
even like to use the word because people stand back and they say it's not me, including the person that's the closest to burnout. They stay in denial until that last minute. So what's more important is that we have a workplace where everybody not only knows and understands the precursor to, let's call it mental wellness instability. We call it stress, we call it anxiety,
Yeah.
pre-burnout, those stages of before we actually burn out. When we're burned out, we're out, we are gone, we
Well,
can't
yeah,
work.
sure.
But that's definition. To come back, we need to understand the signs and symptoms, but we also have to feel able to say it. Because if I'm afraid to say it, like those people afraid to eat lunch, it will stay bottled up and it will become burnout, you see? So if we can capture it, and I think that's the biggest challenge today, it's the preventative side. And once again, that's a place where health and wellness coaches play a huge role, where our medical professionals are not really trained in prevention. That's not what they're paid for. They're paid to fix. So if we can prevent, and there are two challenges here, Sylvia. One of them is, yes, training the workplace, creating a culture, and we can even talk about that afterwards, psychological safety, a safe space where people feel well and can speak. But in addition to that, to giving people the skills to actually listen when people speak.
This is very important, prevention.
Mhm. Much
And
more important
prevention
than
is much more.
correction. Much more important than correction, and much less expensive.
Of
Much less
course,
expensive.
I guess so. So you are a catalyst between clinical health needs and the company everyday productivity requirements. Can you make another example which touched you, having to deal with a person in an organization and the process?
I think I'm trying to think of a specific example.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, I can think of an example, and I'm going to put it right into the context. I also am a consultant for the Swiss government,
yeah,
for the foundation called Swiss Health Promotion, Promotion Santé Suisse, or Gesundheitsförderung Schweiz, or Salute nella Svizzera, something
yeah,
like
I see. Mhm.
that. As a consultant, I did a wonderful analysis in a major bank, one of the biggest, on job stress to understand the stressors in everybody's life at work. We were able to look at the reports of the survey and see what was stressing people. When we saw that, we then created breakout groups to understand regionally what the stressors were. After that, we decided, people asked us to create sessions on burnout prevention.
Mhm.
What we learned in those awareness sessions, and this again, I think is a key to success. We did an awareness session with all audiences, every level of the organization, 100 people at a time. We really informed people about the symptoms and stress. What's the difference between stress and burnout and depression? When must we refer to a professional or not? How do we create this safe space? And that's where I'd like to go next. What happened at that point is they all looked at each other and they said, we don't know how to create a safe space. We don't feel safe. They said it out loud with me. And so we decided at that point as an organization to create small groups at different hierarchical levels. So I had the leadership, and then I had the middle leadership, and then I had the non-leadership. We worked together to learn the skills of listening, non-judgment, and open-ended questions. I have to read you a statistic which blew my mind. Google, Harvard, and McKinsey did studies of over 180 teams. The number one predictor of team resilience showed up to be psychological safety. So, with this particular organization, I saw it. Once they got that psychological safety in each level, they were able to create a culture that felt safe. And when I went back a year and a half later to redo a job stress analysis and compare apples with apples, last year with this year, the results were completely different. So that's a very clear example. And what is interesting, Sylvia, when you think about the example I've just said, it was a group example. It was not individual. It was groups. So I thought it was even more powerful.
And this shows the importance of having coaches, wellness, health coaches, but I would say only coach, the figure of the coach in an organization.
Yes. A coach approach to the culture. Yes. And they don't all need to be coaches by any means. But we have coaching skills, as you know yourself, that we are now deploying within healthcare professionals, within leaderships. And again, not everybody needs to be a coach, but if we can just absorb some of the coaching skills, we can likely change the culture and that psychological safety we spoke about.
If I say coaching, it's a tool, it's a philosophy, is a posture, how you do, what would you say about that?
Coaching is a posture. I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
My mentor coach is almost 82 years old, still working phenomenally. She taught me something I will never forget, and you might take it yourself. She said, let the client do the heavy lifting. When that is my posture, I am hands off. I am hands off. That is the posture of a coach. It is hands off. Whether you are a leader, what is challenging as a leader, I published an article on this once, is knowing when to use leadership skills and when to let the employee do the heavy lifting. That's a fine line to know. When do I use a coach approach? When do I choose to be the boss? And finding that fine line can take practice. But the posture is the same. You believe in the unconditional positive regard of the person in front of you. You trust them. And from there, that's the posture. So yeah, 100%.
Okay, wonderful. What strategy does your organization use to foster psychological safety and inclusion for diverse teams?
Thank you. Super easy question, but I love, again, the word you used, inclusion. People are often thinking of my work, and up until now, in the interview, they're thinking, okay, workplace health. That's HR. That's workplace wellness. I have a wellness budget, or I have a health budget, or right? You use the word inclusion. I am very often a mix, and we are working transsection across the organization in inclusion, because is menopause health and well-being? Is it age? What is it? Is it inclusion? Is it culture? What is it? So I think we have to stop having silos, and that is our strategy as an organization. We do not create silos. We work transversally across the organization. We want everybody to understand each other. Now, your next question was about, you said, what is your strategy on being inclusive? What was the other part of the question? Because I forgot it.
What strategies does the organization use to foster psychological safety
Psychological safety,
and
yes,
include? Yes.
yes. I teach a coach approach. I
Mm-hmm.
literally teach a coach approach. We do workshops on those top 3 skills, which are open-ended questions, which I will share in the case of someone maybe coming in feeling you're thinking they're burned out. What's going on with you today? I'm noticing something different. What's up? So number 1 is having an open-ended question, not a yes or no.
Yes or no?
What's wrong with you or something like that, right? We want something open so that they will, then we have to stop and say nothing and listen and wait and wait and not try to fill the gap and wait. And then without judgment, so that we can actually roll up our sleeves and open up the conversation. That takes practice. Those 3 skills, every single human can do that. And that's how we create the psychological safety.
What key performance indicator, the KPIs, do you think best measure the effectiveness of workplace health programs?
Thanks for asking. That is a great question. As an economist, and again, I have 2 hats. I have a consultant hat and a coaching hat. KPIs are very, very important. Let's go back to my example before. I told you we did a job stress analysis. We were able to look at that 2 years in a row, and the KPIs were the results of the survey. We're not always lucky enough to have a survey like that, right? I do find it very relevant on your annual employee survey to have 1 or 2 questions that are specific to a KPI related to either work-life balance, stress, health, well-being, something or 2. I think that gives you, again, a KPI. Alternatively, what one can do, and again, we can all think of an Excel spreadsheet, what that looks like. We can have a column on the left of our initiatives. Let's just say we have a menopause initiative. We'll just make that up. And we've decided to run it twice a year, online, once at lunchtime, once at 6 p.m. And we do a survey after the session to see how people have perceived it. Positive, negative, do it again, don't do it again. In order to have a systematic, ongoing improvement in our program, which makes it sustainable, back to your earlier question, we need to have some form of measurement. So in that case, we could actually take the results after each intervention, look at them, and see how we have to adjust for next year. And I always end those surveys with a question, what else would you like to see? Which allows us to do that bottom up, not only the top down.
So after all what we said and what you told us, who is the health and wellness coach, Ellen?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Behind me here on my background, Health Coaching Switzerland.
Yeah.
So, you see my name. I have all these initials after my name to share with you what they mean. I am an International Coaching Federation Master Certified Coach, ICF MCC. Then the next one, I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. That certification came from the next one, which is I have a master's in health and wellness coaching and workplace wellness, 2 master's degrees. During my master's degree, I discovered that in the United States, there is an actual criteria, accreditation, and professionalization for those coaches that have specialized in the domain of health. The National Board for Health and Wellness Coaches is a board certification under the same national body as doctors, nurses, physical therapists, etc., in the United States. The United States was the first country to have this. I decided to do that accreditation because there was no other, even though I am Swiss. We are today about 16,000 board certified coaches. Many of them are also nurses or executive coaches. They might have other skills, but they have to have passed the exam with those requirements. I'm going to go further because what's happened because of my role in Europe as a board certified master's, et cetera, I have been asked to be on a number of global health coach positions, allowing me to see what's going on globally. The UK has also created a national accreditation, the UK IHCA. I work very closely with the CEOs of both organizations, and I've created programs to train coaches in both organizations.
Organizations.
Singapore has started doing something at a national level as well. Canada has started nothing really formal. I believe we in Switzerland need to formalize what a health and wellness coach is. Up until today, the International Coaching Federation, the ICF, is the gold standard for coaching. Believe it or not, you may not know this, Sylvia, they are in discussion with the board to actually merge you can do to actually add health and wellness coaching as an expertise. So if you're already ICF, you don't have to redo all the coaching bit. It's just the health bit that you'd add on.
Good.
So what we are trying to create in Switzerland is we are bringing together academics, medical enterprises, coaching, putting them in a pot to see what we've got and how far we need to go to create a national recognition. I will add one thing, Sylvia. Thanks to you and other people near Italy, near France, we actually have people from France and Italy joining us so that perhaps we can be the springboard. Because honestly, that accreditation, probably 85% of it is global. It can be the same. And then there's maybe a 15% that needs to be country specific. Not even just language, but specific to the country,
Countries.
culturally, etc. So that is our initiative right now, is to start this conversation top down, bottom up, transversally, so that we can actually professionalize a domain that could be risky if it's not professionalized.
Thank you, Ellen, for that. Would you like to present us a little bit more what you will do in Neuchâtel, the day that you have already in Neuchâtel? And I wanted to ask you, had you difficulties and have you difficulties in getting all these person together, all these different insurances, medical doctors, university, because I mean, in the university, you trainee the medical doctor that tomorrow, so going
This is very
further.
exciting. Yeah, thank you. So on the 24th of June in Neuchâtel, we are taking a full day at the University of Neuchâtel with keynotes. Every person we have asked, from academics, from insurance companies, we have 4 hospitals, we have 9 doctors have all said, finally, somebody's getting it right. Yes, I'm coming and speaking. Where we have had resistance is at a political level.
Okay.
We have tried for keynotes through politicians supporting health, well-being, prevention. We're getting nothing. We're getting nowhere. We are still waiting for a few answers of very high-level people. It takes a long time for them to answer. But otherwise, everybody is so excited to meet each other because nobody knew that there was this thing going in Basel, and there's this thing going at CSS Insurance, and there's this other thing going internationally, and the UK and Canada. And by the way, in the afternoon on the panel, we have representatives from the National Board, the UK IHCA, from Brazil, from Canada, from France. So we will also be having a global think tank in the afternoon where we see what the others have already done. We are not going to recreate the wheel. We will start from something that's been worked on for 20 years and make it Swissfied.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're really hoping that during that day as well, we get the people and the engagement of the people that are ready to work on that 15%, so that we can move forward with this at a reasonable pace.
Wonderful, and this is a great job bringing people together, because we live in a time where nobody has time, but everybody recognize the importance. And then you have to have somebody who begins and bring people together.
Yes.
And so that's you, that's your board, what you have been doing, what you will do. And we think it's very, very important what you're doing. A great, great job. And this is only the start,
Only
right?
the beginning. Only the
The
beginning. Yeah.
opening, the pioneer, and then everything will come. And we wish you all the best for this. We will be in Neuchâtel with you, so we are
I
looking
can't wait to
forward
meet you
to.
in person.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ellen, for presenting yourself, for introducing us to the health and wellness coach approach, we would say. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the people listening to us. So I think that we will come back. Surely with all interviews that we will take in Neuchâtel, but we will go on. So we will see Ellen Kocher again with us. And thank you very much for being with us today, Ellen.
Thank you, and thank you, Epinexa, for everything you are building.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Good afternoon.